optimism to a long slump. That's the story of India's real estate sector in the last 6 years. The result? The cash is drying out on many fronts and there is a definite liquidity crunch. The mood revival in the larger economy hasn't yet rubbed on to the property markets, and while foreign money and private equity money has seen some improvement in the first 6 months of the current financial year, by and large, the industry is worried about funding and the cost of funding. How can this be fixed, and what are the dangers of it not getting fixed? There is a big danger. Welcome to the Realty Debate on real estate liquidity crunch and the way out. Let's just welcome all the guests that we have with us today. Souvik Purkastia, Executive Director, Capital Markets, Cushman & Wakefield. Thank you so much for joining us. Vikas Chimakurti, Director, Kotak Realty Fund. We also have with us Ranjan Dhawan, Executive Director, Bank of Baroda. Jyoti Gadia, Founder and Managing Director, Resurgent India. Vidur Bhardwaj, Director, The 3C Company. And Sameer Jasuja, Founder and MD of Prop Equity. Now, before I start the discussion, why has funding become a problem? Let's just set that agenda. There is, of course, no availability of adequate and structured finance. That's what the industry says. Bank credit remains expensive and limited. If bank credit is expensive, then you can imagine what happens to other credit. Shortage of risk capital amongst private lenders and NBFCs. Raising funds from the capital markets continues to remain an unviable option for the sector. We do know what or where the stocks of DLF and the like are languishing. There has been no real estate IPO since 2011. No formal source of funding available to developers to acquire land, which constitutes 40% of a real estate project. All institutional money put together, banks, housing finance companies, private equity, accounts for, and this is actually a really staggering figure that I came upon on research. It accounts for only 22% of the total fund investment which goes into the real estate sector. So those are some of the eye-opening numbers or facts to consider. To ensure that we get to the bottom of the funding issue today, let's divide the debate into neat boxes. We'll discuss bank funding, foreign funding, domestic private equity funding and other sources like structured finance through NBFC routes, which is very expensive. Let's begin with bank funding because that's supposed to be the biggest funding coming in if the Housing for All by 2022 dream has to be fulfilled. Banks have to play a private or a very, very critical role. So let me start by asking my guest, Mr. Gadia here. What's happening, sir?
Sir, in the bank sector, as you have rightly pointed out, there is a definite crunch and the bankers are not ready to lend to the real estate developers market. First of all, there is one thing, banks are only getting lending only for 3 to 4 years. Nowadays, the project life cycle has become 6 to 7 years of funding. So again, the bankers face that liquidity crunch that also comes to them that way. Again, bankers have a peculiar issue that they don't fund the land. Around 40% of the project comes in the form of land costing. So where this funding is going to come from? Now at present the developers are facing the major crunch in form of getting the organized source for their land funding, which the RBI is not allowing them to get it from the banking sector. So these are the two problems where the land funding is not getting from the banks. Another is the tenure of the loan, which is approximately around 3 years of loan.
Okay, Ranjan Dhawan, you know, RBI has actually sounded a cautionary note for lending to real estate sector. And if I just look at the quantum of funding which has gone from the banks to real estate versus infrastructure, there's a report by KPMG which says that, you know, infrastructure lending has gone up 3 times over the last few years, but real estate has actually dropped. And if you look at the NPAs in real estate versus infrastructure, the picture is totally different or actually the opposite. So why is it that banks consider real estate to be such a high risk sector?
Let me divide my answer into two portions. One is, you know, funding of individual property deals. Somebody wants to buy a flat, we finance him. Let me assure you that the entire banking sector is chasing this particular area. And there is absolutely no dearth of funds for an individual who may want to buy a house for his personal needs. So, you know, retail housing is a thrust area for most banks. And in point of fact, depending upon the bank, something anywhere between 8 to 20% of the outstanding loan portfolio of a bank may be tied up in this particular area. So therefore, there is absolutely no dearth of funding as far as this is concerned. Let me now come to the second part as far as funding to land banks is concerned. Yes, there are regulatory concerns over that. And the reason for that is that a lot of money has been used in the past by various developers in grabbing large land banks. There has been a lot of speculation in land, and perhaps that is the reason that the regulator is careful, and even the banks are careful about advancing money for land. So that is point number 2. Point number 3 is that there was 3 to 4 years back, prior to that, there was a huge rush to construct in the construction sector. Anybody and everybody got into this sector, and there was a huge mushrooming of both residential and commercial real estate projects. There is at the same time, 3 or 4 years back, the demand for such projects went down, with the result that there was a huge overhang of unsold property.
Okay.
Very many developers have not delivered their projects in time because their payments are not coming in time. So it is a matter of demand and supply rather than any regulatory action or governmental action. It is simply that the developers rushed into a field and they overcrowded this field. There was a huge amount of, there is still a huge amount of inventory, and demand has slackened over the last 3 or 4 years. And as yet there is no pickup in demand. Therefore, to say that the banks are not funding is not correct. We remain open. We are funding projects. But we consistently find that a lot of developers, the people who most want the money are the people who are very highly over leveraged, and the banks are certainly not going to fund developers who get over leveraged.
All right, Shavik Pukastia, I think Mr. Dhawan has very nicely summed it all. Banks are not wary of funding. They're very happy to extend housing loans. In fact, that's probably the safest basket of loans that they give to the end consumer. Is it the history that they're not able to get past? Do you think the markets have now cleaned up their act enough for banks to get their confidence back into real estate sector, or not just yet?
Well, I think the biggest funding requirement for any developer is really land. As you yourself mentioned, that could be as much as 40%, and in a place like Bombay, that could be even higher. That is an area that is just not allowed for bank funding. As a result of which, developers have no alternative but to access other sources of funding. Construction financing, I think, still continues unabated for the good, high-quality projects. I don't think we are seeing any slowdown in construction financing. Banks continue to remain bullish about that, as well as LRDs if it comes to commercial projects. So there are areas, there are pockets where banks continue to fund.
Okay.
I think land financing is something which banks in any case were never allowed. Developers will have to continue to focus on traditional areas like private equity, NBFCs, and their own equity to fund such purchases.
Okay. Vidur Bhardwaj, would you agree that there is really not such a big concern when it comes to banks and housing finance companies? The problem lies elsewhere for the liquidity crunch that the industry faces today?
Yeah, I would agree, but I think it's important for us to understand that if we are chasing the end user, the house buyer, there's going to be no business there if the banks don't fund the developer. Mm-hmm. The world over, everybody thinks that the developer is making the maximum money, right? But in reality, in India, it's far from there. And I think most of the developers would agree with that. Today, the situation is that there's no bank which is ready to fund the land, right? The government, even for the government, it's important to understand, to differentiate between an infrastructure project and a real estate project. But I think somewhere we need to marry the two. So we can define, and the government can define, that large real estate development projects can come under infrastructure, then the funding would become simpler and probably at a lesser price. Okay. Someone has to raise up their hand and identify this. And it has to be the government. The government has to step up and do this, because let's not forget that a large amount of employment comes from this sector as well. So I think if we can take this to the government in a collective form, saying that large projects over an X amount of square footage or area can be qualified as infrastructure projects, the banks would be happy to fund that, and they can do their due diligence 5 times over, and they will find that they will have the results. And these are the projects which will mostly be housings by and large, would also give them further business for the end users.
Okay, Vikas Chimakurti, what's your opinion? Classifying large projects, integrated townships as infrastructure, that's been a demand from the industry for a long time. Is it a valid demand?
It's a controversial statement, controversial answer. See, the point is, The There is no answer yes or no for that. Ultimately, it has to be driven by the pure economics and the credit quality of what the banks look for. And as long as they meet the credit standards, bank will take their own call in terms of risk-adjusted returns or the amount of capital which they can give. So I can't answer that question whether it should be classified as infrastructure or not.
I do know it's a very, very controversial point. Sameer Jasuja, recently I met a developer who's got a fairly good credit history, and he said that somewhere down the environment is only getting tougher. Those achhe dins are nowhere to be seen. In fact, bankers of PSU banks who were willing to meet them and look at credit-worthy developers are suddenly now becoming extremely cautious, even in giving construction finance. Maybe it's the forensic audits which are happening around. Maybe real estate has this perception of being or carrying extra risks, but somewhere around there is a trust factor which is missing between developers and the financing community, starting with banks, isn't it? And that's a reality.
Absolutely right. I think real estate is probably the only sector and real estate development is the only vertical where you have every developer owning 200 companies. If you were to look at any other industry, they do all their business in one company. Here there are hundreds of SPVs. If you have to do any kind of due diligence or any kind of transparency, it is absolutely impossible. And that's why banks don't want to go out and lend initially till the project has not got full licensing, until the project is not gone into some kind of shape where one can see the company structure as such. The other point that I'd like to make is when we were talking about land funding from banks. Now, I can say that with surety that more than 50% of all land transactions that are done, there's a huge cash element involved. And how does a bank lend in that case? Because the value of the asset in check terms will reduce substantially. So at best, the bank will be able to lend not more than 10 to 15% on the value of the land. So that is why banks can't really step in at that time. And the developer credit rating at this point in time, it's nobody's fault except the developers themselves at this point in time. They are to blame because they overextended themselves. Execution was very weak. World-class teams were not built within their companies. And that led to bankers, private equity funds really losing their confidence in being able to support them when there is time of need.
Okay. Ranjan Dhawan, so essentially some of the hard truths have been spoken by Sameer and you as well. But tell us what the environment is right now. I hear constantly from the developers that they've cleaned up their act, they're far more transparent, and there seems to be evidence to that extent as well. Do you feel as a banker and managing a huge portfolio, that confidence of being able to lend to the real estate sector? Forget about land, that's a larger controversy, and of course there are no easy answers to whether bankers should be allowed to fund land or not. But even construction finance, how comfortable are you, let's say vis-a-vis 2 years ago? Or are you going to wait for the demand first to pick up before you get that confidence back?
Look, one thing should be very clear, that as yet we are not seeing credit demand on the ground. And demand for credit on the ground continues to be weak. There is definitely a very great improvement in sentiment, but it has as yet not translated into greater demand. And concurrently, the GDP of the country, which was expected to jump, has as yet, it is showing a positive trend. There is no doubt that it is showing a positive trend. But I think, we must wait for a general economic revival before we can expect demand for housing or real estate to pick up. So I think there's going to be a very slow and a very cautious expansion going forward, and I am cautiously optimistic. There is a dearth of planning as far as real estate is concerned. For instance, when I go from Mumbai to Pune, all of a sudden in the middle of a rice field, I see a 25-story building coming up with a very poorly maintained road going up to it. So, there is a lot of haphazard planning which is going on into real estate, and there are no parks, there are no proper roads. I doubt if, whether the proper safety precautions are being taken in these buildings. The entire process of development of the real estate sector is fairly haphazard. Probably some, joint effort has to be undertaken that the planning process goes properly. There is no availability of public transport at all. So, in Gurgaon, for instance, it is only now, after so many years of development, that some sort of public transport system is coming up. Otherwise, after 8 o'clock, you could not even find a rickshaw on the streets. So, I mean, probably the planning process, and the government is talking about smart cities, probably that is an idea whose time has come.
With a response to that lots of developers have overextended themselves. Projects are coming up in places where there is no social infrastructure. What's the need to launch new projects when the existing inventory overhangs, and most of these micro markets which are considered to be hot is going up from 20 to 24 months?
I think I tend to agree with that. A lot of developers have overextended themselves. I mean, you've had people in near Calcutta city bought 200 acres and 300 acres and so on and so forth in Indore and a whole lot of places. Yes, they have done it and they have suffered, but doesn't mean that as a community of real estate developers, as the government, as the infrastructure, we don't find solutions to this. One thing my friend did mention was there was no infrastructure. Now, infrastructure is not developers' responsibility because we do pay the EDC, IDCs, right? We do pay those EDC, IDCs.
Right.
So if we do that, then it's only fair that that money is put to the right use. And that's something which hasn't happened, probably not as fast as it should have.
Fair enough. I'm glad that you're accepting that, yes, that has been one of the things plaguing the sector and the liquidity or reason for liquidity crunch. Jyoti Gadia, sum up for us, what is it that can be done for bank funding to ease up? I mean, not at the home loan thing. Is it just a question of economy reviving again, demand coming back, and actually those achhe din translating to achhe din in reality, and that's the way the liquidity crunch will end?
I think bank can look at 2-3 important aspects. First of all, the tenure of the loan should be made 7 to 8 years because
Actually,
the project life cycle.
Mr. Dhawan, that question, why the tenure of the loan? So before I go back to Jyoti here, Mr. Dhawan, why is the tenure of the loan that banks give not matching the cycle of the real estate investment? 7 to 8 years, and none of the banks are willing to give more than 4 to 5 years. I missed out on that important point, and you need to come up and tell us why that's not happening.
Look, I can tell you straight away. I have no idea, and I would like to inquire which real estate project requires 6 to 7 years to put up. Most real estate projects only require 2 to 3 years, let alone 4 years. They require even a large multi-story building, let's say a 40-story skyscraper, can be put up in 2.5 to 3 years.
Yeah, but it takes about 2 years.
So I essentially don't agree that there may be some rare project which requires a 7-year time horizon, but by and large, I doubt if there are many such projects.
So it takes almost 2 years to get approvals. I mean, to get environment clearance takes over a year. To get the sanction drawings, etc., it's a 2-year process before you can hit the ground.
Hit the ground running. Okay, Jyoti Gadia, that's the problem. That's nothing to do with bankers or developers, but that's to do with just the approval process, isn't it?
No, it is one of the approval process because the banks takes door to door as 4 years. So external development charges, IDC, etc., those are to be paid at the start of the project. So once the project life cycle is not made the 7 years, I will not take the loan disbursement and then I have to repay the loan, I have to market the project. Everything will take approximately around 6 to 7 years of the project before the loan can be easily paid off. Because in the 4-year cycle, it becomes very problematic for the people to pay it off. So this is one of the problem areas.
Ranjan Dhawan, is it possible for banks to reconsider their position on the life cycle of the investment?
Let me tell you something, that if it is a good project, if you think that it takes a long time to market the project, it takes a long time for the money to come, let me say right up front, I completely disagree with that. Most of the good projects are sold beforehand. In fact, there is a pre-construction selling. Apart from that, by the time the first or the second floors come up, in most of the good projects, we find they are already sold. People get them financed, and the banks, in fact, trot up the money to the developers upfront for it. I really don't know that the project life cycle, I haven't seen a project life cycle for a residential project which is 7 years. It is true that governmental clearances may take some time. But the banks typically will not finance a project unless the governmental clearances are through. We will not take that sort of a risk. And we have any number of developers approaching us that who require all sorts of clearances. That is another aspect which the industry can consider at a separate level. The bankers are not involved in that.
Okay, fair enough, Mr. Dhawan. And actually, projects are also sold to buyers, saying that the delivery time frame is 3 to 5 years. Sameer, isn't it? So, pretty much, why are banks expecting developers expecting a 7-year loan while they're promising that they will deliver the project in 3 years, maximum 4 years?
Absolutely. The other part is that the 50 to 60% of the installments are taken in the first year itself. And since banks are not funding land transactions and land constitutes 40% of the overall project, so I don't see any reason why a bank needs to extend it definitely beyond 4 years as such. It is basically what is happening is that developers in the last 3-4 years have extended themselves because the opportunity was there to buy more land banks, to be able to monetize over a period of time more profits, and that is what has led to the basic problem and overselling. The problem has been overselling since the market has been having investors over the last 3 years, and now that the investors have gone away, we are seeing this big problem happening in the markets.
All right, so blame it on the slowdown, blame it on the economy, but right now it doesn't look like if Ranjan Dhawan is the voice of the banking industry, that financing is not going to ease out in a hurry till a lot more, let's say, clarity emerges in terms of how robust the businesses themselves are which are seeking financing. FDI and private equity investment into real estate also touched a new low at the end of financial year 2014. The first half of the current financial year, though, has seen a little bit of improvement. We will look at the figures and examine whether the trend is positive and how important is the role of foreign and private equity money in real estate. That's when we come back.